Oh, thank you for hitting the record button.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been one of those days, but yeah. So I guess the two things, again, and the first one is really just please do look at the drafts of the case studies, and provide feedback to Leah and Janice so that they can address and incorporate any comments that y'all may have. If you still need access to them, let me know, and I'll make sure that we get you, hooked in so that you can get into the file folder and look at the various case studies that they've got. They've got about 19 or 20 of them in there at this point, so they're trucking along, and they're looking to get everything done by the end of June. So that will be good, and it looks like they're on track to do that. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about today was kind of start going over, ideas from the hearing, to kind of start thinking about putting those into, the reparations matrix thing that I have, but more importantly, to kind of just start figuring out which of these recommendations do we want to start prioritizing. And of course, in full transparency, I have to say, when I was packing to come out here to Milwaukee, I forgot to pack my notes. So I'm going to pretty much be working on memory, which, has been better, but, I can certainly try to, figure out. But yeah, let's maybe just start kicking around ideas, or what ideas, from the hearing, from any of the panels, whatever caught your attention, that you think we should put forward as recommendations for reparations for racial terror lynching in Maryland. Don't everybody shout at once.
Maybe something that we could do before the next meeting is look at the expert reports that we've received and pull out the recommendations that are in there, and then that maybe that'll give us kind of a starting place. And then, like you said, you already have your matrix, so we could look at the matrix. And I think at the last meeting, Stephanie said, maybe we organize it the way the panels were organized and how we're thinking of it. There's definitely a lot of content, and so it's just a matter of figuring out how to organize it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a huge question, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I was just kind of thinking about those categories, and if we could, I mean, I don't know how people feel about it, but if it's, well, you don't, I don't know if you still have interns or whatever. You don't have anyone, or I would say some people, and Dr. Michelle, I know your students are out too for the summer, but I was wondering if we could get some students to kind of summarize what the recommendations were from the panels, even if it's not each person, kind of the big takeaways from the panel, because I think that that'll help us kind of get our arms around it, because it's a lot, right? And so it's a lot to go through, and to go back and re-listen. I mean, you're talking hours that I know none of us on this meeting really have. So I just wonder if that would be helpful to us in terms of getting our hands around it. And I know it's going to go into the report, but again, as we're thinking about legislators really kind of streamlining what it will look like for them, so that they can get the essence of what we may be recommending really quickly, because they have so much to do. I will say that I did start listening again. It's been a really busy season. I've been in trials like multiple day trials for several weeks now. So it's been a little hard. So I've tried to go back to listen, to some of it, but I know the time has been an issue. So I don't know if you all have anybody, students that might be able to do it. I will say this though, I could try this, but I want to say that I don't know what the skill level will be with being able to pull out certain information, but there is a youth leadership, and it's a youth leadership in a youth development organization in Baltimore called Heart Smiles. And they are connected with Youth Works in Baltimore City, as well as the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. And oftentimes they are looking for placements for the young people to work in the summer. Now, some of them I think are going to be too young, and I'm not certain they're going to have the skills that we need to do something like this. But some of them are, they're in undergraduate school, and some of them are in their 20s. And I don't know if they would be interested, but I could talk to the executive director to see if possibly a couple of volunteers, even if they take just one panel, right? One panel is about an hour and a half or so. That may help us to be able to distill a little better. But again, I can't tell you like their skill level, though. I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
But if you would like, I could definitely ask.
That would be great if you wouldn't mind doing that. Yes.
Sure.
I will take all the help I can get.
Sure.
One thing that I did, and I put it in the shared Google Drive that Michelle Coles was organizing for the report writers, is I had it on the first 6 hearings, but some of the themes that came through that were like more specific institution focused, kind of broken down and then broader. I can share my screen if that's possible, just to show you. And if that's helpful, once we get through the transcripts, I'm up for updating that. We're kind of behind now, just trying to get through the transcripts. I know that doesn't have the benefit of what you're discussing, Councilor Franklin, which would be phenomenal, like really clearly each and every specific recommendation, but this could be a way of getting that broader picture. And then the report that I will update, I know it could be way too long, so I don't know if it's helpful for the report writer, but it has all those quotes and specifics connected to each theme. Would it help if I quickly pull up the thing, Nick, do you think? If I can share the screen?
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
I was going to say, I'm not sure how to do screen sharing in Google, but I figure there's got to be a way to do it.
You know what? Here's the different approach. I will send you the link to the Google Drive, and I think hopefully you can all access it. If not,
Nick, if you look at
let
that
me know, and I
arrow,
can add you in.
Sorry.
The chat button.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the screen, Michelle, what do you see? Do you see any controls at the bottom of the
I do
screen?
a whole bunch. That's the problem.
Okay.
Present now.
There should be a little box.
Perfect.
Yes, there you are.
Okay,
That's the one.
excellent.
There it is. Coming up.
So if,
Okay.
yes, you guys can.
Okay. Oh, fantastic.
Very nice.
Yes.
Yeah, and so this one is the specifics, which is probably more helpful, but it gives like a broad overview. It doesn't go into too much specifics, but that's where either the transcripts or the report, which has these as the main code, the main title, and then has all the relevant codes that the report writers can then go through, or we could, let's see how to bring this down.
Use this, though. I think this is very good.
Yeah.
Can't figure out how to bring that down. Try scrolling and zooming.
Michelle.
But I put in the chat button the link to the Google Drive and can make sure you're all on it. Yeah. Was that you, Michelle?
Yeah, I was wondering, Michelle, do you think it would be possible to do the same type of transcription analysis for the reconciliation hearing?
Yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt. We don't yet have those transcripts. And the student who's going to be working on that this summer is also the one who's helping out. So she's going to be balancing a few things. But I know her plan is to try to do the transcripts sooner. And once she goes through them, I just quickly go through them to make sure, do a second check. And then I can absolutely do the same analysis, add it to the broader report, as well as update this, which is less overwhelming. 100 pages of quotes.
If they do this, we may not even need those young people based on what you recommended, Commissioner Coles, because we could pull that, because this is very nice, and we can pull out what we need very easily. And I also know that it'll probably trigger a lot of what we heard in the hearing. Or, over the last, those 2 days. Yeah, if they could do that, I think that's a great idea.
So let's make sure, one thing we have to make sure, let's make sure you all have access to that Google Drive. I'll stop presenting now. And I think maybe you have access, Councilor Franklin? Wonderful. Okay.
Is that the report of recommendations, Doc? That's February 8th. I was looking for where. Oh, okay.
So this is the one titled Memo Recommendations, and then there's the specific, and then there's the broader.
Yeah.
And the broader one is pretty vague. There's not much, but it helps to give that broader overview. Sure. I think there will be much more now that we've had, almost twice the number of hearings, especially those last 2 hearings.
Yeah. Okay. No, I've got that. I just wanted to make sure that I had the right document.
So that can be updated as well.
Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. That looks like that will be very helpful.
Is it report of recommendations? Is that the one we should be looking at?
It's the one that is memo. So there's 2 that are titled memo. Yeah. And then there's
there's
a similar one that's a mapping, and the mapping is just, for anyone else kind of like me who likes to see that big picture, but that could be overwhelming. But there's the memo and the mapping, which is the much more brief versions. And then the reports is where it gets very long, and it's all the quotes, but that gives the details that were included as well.
Okay.
I think this is great.
Perfect.
Yeah, it really is. So I will, if it's okay with you, Commissioner Creary, based on Commissioner Coles's recommendation, I'll hold off on talking with the youth because it sounds like Dr. Michelle has it under control. Very much so.
Yeah, that would be great. The other thing that
if the youth are interested, sorry, Nick, I was going to say, if they're interested, they could
I can check. It's up to you. Do you still want me to check?
Documents and like flush through specific ideas. You're going to say, Nick?
Can you repeat that one more time?
I was going to say, I don't know, Nick, what you were going to say, but I was going to say there's no reason that the youth can't also take these documents and further flesh it out, right? So that gets them involved, helps them to feel like this is something they are actively involved in, and yet they have a structure that they can add to.
Let me find. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to find the browser so I can see y'all again because I went to the Google Drive. Okay, I'm back. I'm like, how do I get back to the meeting? My one concern about bringing in a new group of people right now is the training component, the supervising component, getting them up to speed. We know your interns. They've been involved with this for so long. They attended the hearing. you know, if we already have so many resources, including the technological tools that you're using, I'm not sure if we want to open the door to untested undergrads right now that aren't going to have the level of supervision and familiarity that Michelle has been providing and guidance. So that's my one concern. But it's great to know about that resource, but that would be kind of my one concern about diving too deep into it, is whether it would make more work for us than save us work.
Yeah, and it's and whatever you all are open to, I'm open to. I wish I could actually supervise them this summer, but I can't. I have too many projects going on. But absolutely, if you want me to approach, I can. If you don't, I won't.
My interns won't have.
Yeah. I mean,
what did you say, Michelle? You got cut off. My interns won't what?
I'm so sorry. My internet doesn't seem to be great, but the interns may not have, because I'll only have one intern this summer, and she is going to be working on the documentary project as well as the 2 long transcripts. So she may not have any time. This I can do, but time is indeed the issue. Chris just noted. But I mean, I can absolutely update those documents, but that's the only reason, if there's that desire to flush through it more.
Yeah. Okay. And Stephanie, I have asked Michelle's interns to help us with is Will Schwartz from the Lynching Memorial Project. I don't know if you were on the full body meeting earlier this week, but he offered to make a promo video of the reconciliation hearing, because apparently he's like a documentary maker. You know, he's like I don't know what the word is, a movie director. I don't know.
Documentarian, I think is the term of art.
I think that's great.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, because it was a powerful 2 days.
Yeah. And so we want to lift it up, and, you know, and we can even use it when the report's coming out to really like bring to life what we're doing and what we're talking about. As we can share it with legislators, we can share it with the public, just to get more buy-in and support and understanding. And so Michelle's interns are going to help us identify key segments that we want to highlight in the roughly 15-minute documentary. See, I had to move I was like, the documentary. And so, yes. So yeah, it's interesting that they will be watching the hearing very closely to pull out those segments, but probably adding and pull out the recommendations. That would be a lot more work. So I don't know if we could make that ask, but we will get a nice refresher of you know, the whole 2 days as that comes together.
Can I ask this, because I do understand. I'm trying to, because I know we need to get this work done, and I'm trying not to, you know, put too much on Dr. Michelle's one person this summer. Commissioner Coles, I don't know, are you still in touch with people at UB? Do you think that if we brought on law students that they would need that level of supervision?
They probably wouldn't, but UB, they had their big intern hiring, if I recall, based on when I hired the last law. Our most recent intern was from Howard Law. The ones I got from University of Baltimore, they were our first 2 interns. And I think I hired them like in the March time frame. Like they had like a virtual fair, and I wasn't thinking we needed interns once we got through the reconciliation hearing. And so I don't have any job vacancy announcements for interns out there right now. And it would probably be difficult at this point of the school year to connect with people that haven't already committed to other things.
Yeah, I was thinking about reaching out to a few folks meaning some law professors. Like, know of anybody.
You did a personal reach out. I think if anyone did a personal reach out, and we could get, especially if it's a law student, I'd feel a lot more confident bringing a law student in or a graduate student in than an undergraduate student right now. But yeah, if we could find people that are, you know, interested and just want to volunteer some time, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, let me let me do that. Let me reach out to a couple of people. And so I'm gonna ask this because I know people will ask this of me. Is there any compensation? Yeah, you know they're gonna ask.
Is it paid?
I just want to be. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. It's fine. I know I'm gonna be asked.
I could give them a Starbucks card.
I get it. I do. I really get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Let me
mean,
reach out to a couple people.
yeah. I mean, because again, the reality, just again, 2 minutes with Sophie, she'll tell. I mean, DOJ is riding them hard. So even if we did have money available, we would probably have to think very carefully about how are we going to allocate it, and sort of knowing that Doge and the current regime's DOJ would be watching very closely.
I
So
got it.
yeah.
But you know what? I think it might be okay if somehow we could recruit a number of the law students. You're talking about just one panel, right? So if you assign one student to one panel, you're talking about a couple of hours.
Yeah.
If listening, maybe distilling, maybe a half day, full day.
Yeah, it's not going to be a lot.
It's not.
It's seven panels total. I counted.
Yeah, but now I may be leaning on some lawyers. We need your help. I need you to listen to this tape.
Yeah.
I just need, and no, you're not gonna get paid. I need you to listen to this tape because you can move through it quicker.
Yeah.
And pull something together.
Yeah.
Let me
and one slight frustration, and I think I love the hearing. I took so much away from it. But one slight frustration I had with some of the testimony is I think a lot of people kind of focused more on the story than the recommendations. And we really needed those recommendations. And sometimes their testimony didn't quite get to that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they told it was a beautiful story and an important story and a story that needs to be told and make it into the report. But I really had hoped that everyone's testimony, and so that's why I really emphasized turning in those reports, because what they didn't do in their testimony, I'm hoping that they will enumerate clearly in their reports.
Yeah. And I think, just off the top of my head, just thinking about, Dr. Darity's, report where he said, basically, look, we're never going to be able to achieve the financial reparations that are due, but here are a couple of concrete things that you can do given what the circumstances are. It's like, okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Okay.
We can't hear you, Michelle.
I was going to say, and the good thing is that was done in some of the other hearings too. Like I remember there was a journalist in one of the hearings who just numbered off like 6, 7 different things. So we have that from all the hearings, thankfully.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me work on that part of it. Law students and / attorneys and see what I can grab.
Wonderful.
And I'll see if there are any, because again, we've got a lot of international students that are sticking around over the summer because they just don't want to go home or, run the risk of not being allowed back in. So, and I know some of them are still looking for jobs. Not that this would be a paying opportunity, but it might be something for them to, to take a look at as well, so I can try to drum up some help on the other coast as well, just to see if we can at least get some more eyes on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least we have a plan.
Yes.
And I think it's a doable one. It's a doable one. I think we're going to do this. It's going to be great. Mhm.
And Chris, I'm just looking at your comment. You were suggesting kind of focusing on the end of people's remarks.
Yeah, just if we were, like if we were reading a general overview of a story, you always find the basic topic is going to be in that first paragraph, and the basic conclusion is always going to be the final. And in most every single panel, I think either somebody would specifically bring up the question, or they would say in closing. And at that point, they would start, that's when they get very specific. I would say this, I would say this, I would say that. So if we did have students who would just maybe do a quick glance, see what they're saying at the beginning and see what they're saying at the end. And that's when they're probably really specifically enumerating something, which would be easier to distill as far as what we're going to get across to the General Assembly. And which this time next year? No,
Yeah.
I guess so.
Commissioner Haley, I think you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
That'll streamline
Mhm.
that level of work and jump right in. Mhm.
Certainly would help me, because as I was thinking about it, I'm going to look at this whole thing. Say, no, wait a minute. When did they really start saying? Right, it was near the
Right,
end.
right.
Near
Yeah.
the end.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. The
I'm
problem,
almost
though,
nervous to ask.
Mhm.
I was going to ask what our timeline is, and I'm almost nervous to
Ugh.
ask because right now the report writers are working on the cases.
Yes.
When do they hope to transition to the recommendations?
End of June, early July would be my guess. Well,
Man.
I think, the timeline, I think we were talking about, sort of by August, September, having them starting to work on part 2, because we, again, wanted to make sure that, we get everything in by the end of June, and then they've got a little bit of time to go and do revisions as necessary. And then we've got August, September for the recommendations, and then we start putting the whole thing together end of September, early October.
Okay.
Mhm.
and if we build off of that document you just showed us, Michelle, we might be handing the reconciliation part of the report to them.
Mhm.
The way it was laid out there, if we're putting it in and filling it in.
Mhm.
That totally works. And, unfortunately, on the Google document, when I look at the report of recommendations, which I think can be very helpful, on the Google version, you can't use the navigation pane for some weird reason. So it's overbearing. But if you actually download that report and do the navigation pane, it's not as overwhelming as it looks, because each of those items that you saw on that document, the specific and institution focus, each of these connect to a whole bunch of quotes. So if somebody's interested, they can then go to the quotes.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, if we're stuck using the Google Drive, we don't have that navigation pane. But once you download it, we have access to that too.
I don't understand. What's a navigation pane?
So I only figured it out because when I looked, so if you go straight to this link, I keep doing what you did, Michelle, which is having trouble getting back.
I'm like,
go
I'm
there.
lost somewhere.
But
And
if
you could still see the person, so you don't even realize they're lost.
Totally. But so this document takes you straight to the report of recommendations. The issue is it's very overwhelming like this. But if you actually download the report, under View, there's something called navigation pane. You just click under the View category, and then you can actually navigate on the side. Let me pull it up and show you all. So you keep talking, and I'll pull it up and show you all.
I'm not sure if I've ever used that before. Is it make it like a table of contents or something?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Are you going to share again? Are you going to, okay.
Yes. Yeah, but you all keep talking in the
Blah,
meantime.
blah, 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 blah. One of the things I think probably we'll figure out, which is really will be very beneficial, is that I think many of the recommendations were similar in context and direction. So it won't, even though initially we're thinking this is going to be like 8 hours or of, oh my God, what is the actual statement they're making? I think probably by the end of the first day, we'll have a general sense of what are people saying that first day. And by the second day, we'll have that same sense. And then we'll be able to say, well, what are the main things out of this that we can distill into sort of action type terms? because some of them are very
Mhm.
philosophical, which is obviously very good for us to go there, but they're not. But for certainly the world we're in today, we need some very big action plans. Like go talk to this congressman, go talk to that go talk to that community person, go start at the ground level. Some of those basic things, which I feel like, because we're thinking, quite frankly, that's what the other side did. So we need to try to start directing ourselves and our energies and our approaches that same way, where even at the school board level, at the PTA, that we'll start talking about these issues and what we think should be here and how do we move it to that next level, and pay more attention to primaries and pay more attention to your city council and your county council, because they may be the ones who take that next step, or and certainly the judges. God knows at this point we need to pay attention to who's becoming a judge or not.
Yeah.
I think something that shocked me the most from the hearing that I had no idea was out there was when someone mentioned there was a pending legislation in the U.S. Congress that would deny federal funds to any state that tried to enact a form of reparations. I was
Yep.
what?
Yeah.
What happened to states' rights? I thought we liked states' rights.
Oh, well, you know, I mean, they're all for states' rights unless
exactly
they're
There it is.
engage their rights.
Right.
Wow.
There it is.
Like, you know.
Wow. So they would deny a state the ability to enact justice for their citizens.
Yes.
So we have to watch out for that. Or figure out how to work around it, how to, figure out how they're defining things so that we're defining things differently,
Yeah, because I was going to say, I actually have this one, I think, still up on my phone. I just need to find it. Yeah, it's HR 2100, No Bailouts for Reparations Act.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was telling somebody today, a colleague walked in, and I said, "What?" Because he was saying, as a historian, I really will be interested in asking you at one point, what is your perception of what's going on right now, how are all perceiving this? And I said, well, one of my thoughts is the alarming part of it is not so much that these things are being brought forth, but the boldness in how they're being brought forth. It's not even couched in, but we don't really mean that. It's like, boom, it's basically like, yes, we do mean this. Yes, we don't want
the hood is off.
Exactly. It's like, yes, I'm taking this off. It's hot in here.
It's hot in here.
You can see my eyes. You can read my lips. It's like, wow, you really don't. And that their followers are like, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're fine with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
And the other thing is just that we need to stop playing by the rules that they're not playing by.
Right.
Because they're taking advantage of that fact.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm going to pull up the report just so you can all see it. And this is, if you download what I showed you on the Google Drive, you'll see this. And it's by going to view and pressing navigation pane. And then you're able, I don't know why I'm not able to kind of go up and down to avoid an infinity mirror. But basically you can kind of down. Yeah, I am not good with this whole Google thingy. But theoretically, you can then go down and you just see like accountability. So these are the broader themes, but then further down, it has specifics, institution focus. So criminal justice, media, education, and they're kind of broken up, and it's a lot.
Dr. Michelle, which document is this?
This is the one that I had put in the chat, the huge, overwhelming report.
It's a big one.
Exactly. But when you look at it in the Google Drive, for whatever reason, you can't see the navigation pane. So if you download that document onto your computer, then you can
show up,
open the navigation pane, which makes it more manageable.
Got it. Okay.
Because then you can just kind of follow the table of contents down the list. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, we can download it in form PDF or
Word,
or
probably, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So just so we see both the possibilities of it, I mean, I recognize it's not the ideal. It may still be easier to just go through the transcripts, but on the other hand, with these outlines, if indeed this is what the Reconciliation Committee basically is going to be submitting, this more fleshed out, they can also then connect to more specifics using this document, or we could.
Hmm.
Sorry, if I was more tech savvy, I would have been able to scroll down to show you further down, but
This is great.
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right. Well, it sounds like we have, and I also just threw in the chat the link to the legislation, just so you can all see that and have access to it. So as we start thinking about how do we, as I like to say, every Maginot Line has its Belgium. So, how do we figure out a way around that one? Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like we've got a plan. And I guess the good thing about having delayed this month's meeting, we'll be meeting again in a couple of weeks. So, we should hopefully be able to kind of get things moving, and kind of just follow up on, where we are with this, and, whether or not we've been able to get some more warm bodies to help out.
Yeah, I am good. Our next meeting is at the end of this on the 30th, right?
Usually we go for the first
If I'm
Friday.
mixing this up, because I mixed it up. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so we're good. Okay, first Friday.
Yeah, so we'd be looking at
6th.
June 6th.
June 6th.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, and Stephanie and Michelle, for your awareness, do you guys recall that Colonel Butler, who is the head of the Maryland State Police Standards and Accountability Board, was supposed to testify at the reconciliation hearing, and he had a scheduling conflict, was not able to attend. The AG's office has arranged for us to have a Zoom interview with him, and it's going to take place at our next commission-wide body meeting, which has been rescheduled to June 16th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it ordinarily would be June 9th, but the full body meeting will be on June 16th, and pretty much the sole focus of that meeting will be this conversation with Colonel Butler.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was gonna.
And it's open to the public as everything is. So for both of y'all, but in particular, Stephanie, if there are people like the ADOS community that want to watch, make sure that they know that that's what the purpose of this meeting will be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, where's it going to be located?
On Zoom, just like, or
Oh,
whatever.
we're going to do it on Zoom. It's
Meet.
not going to be in person like you did at Bowie or anything.
No.
No.
It's just going to be like our regular commission meeting on whatever online platform we're on.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm sure you already got the email from Sophie, but we're asking if you'd be willing to run this one, since you've got questions all set.
Yes, and I'll write Sophie back as soon as we get off of this.
Okay.
I think you should share the meeting, and so I don't know if I want to suggest that in the email, but I think you should share the meeting. But I'm happy to be the person questioning it. I want us to keep my focus on the questions and not the overall running of the meeting, though.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that. That'd be fine.
Okay.
Because that'll work fine. I can kind of just start things off.
Yeah.
And then just turn it over to you to start the questions, and then after you finish with yours, we can open it up to other folks who may have questions for Colonel Butler, and we'll just run it that way.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, great.
Works.
Alrighty. Well,
It was productive.
yes. All right. Well, again, I think we've got some good things to do, and Michelle G, thank you for all of this. I mean, even though you won't be with us on the 6th, that's okay, because you've given us plenty to do between now and then and beyond. So that'll be fine. And and then if you can make it on the 16th, that'll be wonderful. So All right. Well, I figure, I can at least give you 15 minutes of your lives back. So,
We appreciate, and I am going to start those reach outs.
okay.
And so what I'll do is I'll make sure that I just email all of you so you'll know where I am in that process.
Okay.
Because even if we just get one or two,
Mhm.
we're going to get started. We're going to get started. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
All right.
okay. Thank you so
Okay, well,
much, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a
Okay,
wonderful
thank you all.
weekend.
Okay, have a nice weekend. Take care.
Definitely
Yeah.
be in touch.
And congratulations. Enjoy the graduation.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I,
Yeah,
I,
that's
great.
it's like, I didn't do anything except write a couple of checks. That was all her.
That's a big deal.
So important.
Particularly how much school costs these days. That's a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't nothing, but but
So
again,
important.
she did the work. So,
That's great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to
oh,
her.
thank you. All right.
Absolutely.
Have a
All
great
right.
weekend.
Take care, everybody. It's
Bye,
great to
everyone.
see you.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.